right, for another surface technique that we can do after the clay has been bisked, we can use something called wax resist. And wax resist is literally just wax that we brush on in certain areas, and then that keeps the clay just raw clay, and then we can apply a glaze so we get that contrast between a glossy glaze color and the white of the clay. So here's an example where I did that, and it has a nice texture to it. Or here's just a real simple pattern I did on the outside of this bowl. All right, so I have this little bowl here that has been bisked, and I haven't done any surface design to it yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wax resist, and you want to use a small brush that is preferably stiff bristled. Don't use our big moppy glaze brushes with the wax. The wax will never come out of there. All right, so I'm going to paint a little design on here. Really carefully, because once the wax is on the bisque, it never comes off. Okay, it will only burn off in the kiln. I want to make sure I'm getting a really a thick coating of the wax on there. If the wax is too thin, it might not resist the glaze, which means the glaze would kind of absorb there. It's funny, the wax will resist the glaze when you make a mistake and you don't want it to be there. And then sometimes when you want it to be there, it doesn't resist. There's my design. Now I'm going to let it dry completely. You can see there's some areas where it's still sort of wet. I don't want to brush on my glaze yet until it's completely dry. Okay, I'm done with my pattern that goes all the way around my pot. And now I want to make sure that I clean my brush really well in hot soapy water to make sure that I get all of that wax out. You need to do that immediately. The wax will ruin the brush if it stays on there for too long. Now I'm going to use one of my Cone 6 glazes that is colored to just brush on this glaze. I could dip this as well. And where I have applied the wax, the glaze will not stick. You can see how it's resisting the glaze. So I'm going to do 3 coats of this glaze and then see how it looks. Sometimes if I feel like my glaze isn't quite resisting, you can see here it seems to be pulling away from some areas but not all. Before that glaze dries completely, I take a clean brush and I just kind of carefully brush it away from my design. A lot of times the glaze will move off of it in the kiln, but sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to be certain that that design is free of glaze by kind of brushing it with a clean, dry brush to reveal that design. Okay, now that I've kind of cleaned up my edges, my pot is ready to go into the kiln.